Hey folks, Dr. O and Cole here with 7 minutes to give you some huge value. Now, people lose a lot of money on self-bills, don't they, Cole? And
Absolutely.
you have got an amazing tip that you're going to give everybody at the end of these 7 minutes. So if you're watching this and you do not want to lose a lot of money on your self-build small developments, you need to hang out till the end of this video. So Colin, first of all, talk to us about, you use the word hampering, things that can hamper a project, because there are many ways that a project can lose money, but we're going to focus in on one thing to do with contracts today. Hampering.
Yeah,
Let's cover that first.
yeah. It's on this particular project actually where I'm on now. Yesterday the weather was so inclement, right, that I lost 2 days because of the weather. The rain come in, we're outside, we're building in timber on this project. So suddenly the weather's come in, and we've lost 2 days.
Right. So
Right.
you've got a plan for a project. You've got a certain financial budget. If something happens that stops it, happened on our home where we had like maybe 6 weeks of rain and the roof was off. You're saying that time delay with the wrong contract can cost people money, correct?
100%, yeah. Because under a traditional contract, you will be paying prelims, right? So that's a contractor's prelim cost that is contracted into as a cost every single week. So if you're delayed, even if you're on a bridge, right, a bridging loan, if you're delayed, you're going to be paying extra interest, aren't you? The same with the prelims on a contract with a contractor.
Okay, so one of the first things to do is when they're looking at the whole plan is to consider what could slow up or could hamper the project. And if the wrong contract's in place, those time delays cost you money. Right, okay,
That's why
good.
it's really particular when it becomes like when I was doing the foundations and the groundworks here, I did it in better weather and then waited for better weather to come. We got caught out with the rain very recently, but we're going into hopefully what will be drier weather now to do the superstructure. But you don't want to be putting your footings in winter. You know, if it's freezing cold,
Okay.
more rain, you'll get so hampered. You can't pour concrete in freezing cold weather.
So somebody forces the issues, get them on site too early, and then there's a delay. The builder's going to say, sorry, that's in the contract. You're going to have to pay us.
Yeah,
so that kind of comes
absolutely.
to the second, which is you talked about design and plans when we were talking just before we came online. Do you want to elaborate on that? We've got 4 minutes and 45 seconds.
Okay, so with the information that the contractor wants, or however you're going to build it, the information is critical. So your drawings and your technical information. This is why I talk about planning and building control quite a lot, because we need to have this information drawn, not just written down or you're going around having a chat.
Yeah.
You've got drawn up, because a drawing says 1,000 words. We've all heard the same before. So having that information is really important. You know how you're going to build it. You know what materials are going to be going in. You can actually quantify that and work with your contractor to be accurate on your pricing, because otherwise they can throw any price at you.
Okay, now the point I want everyone listening to this is quantifying measurables and also anticipating, like you said about the foundations or the roof, where there might, if the weather was wrong, that could be a delay there. So it's no good just jumping in. There needs something to sit with the builder and look at, correct?
Right, yeah, absolutely. And,
okay.
And your communication is key.
Now, I'm going to move to what you were mentioning earlier on, because we need to get everybody to this point of like, what's this way of saving money if there's a rain, there's delays of 2 or 3 days or whatever. One form of contract is like a lump sum contract. Can you elaborate on that briefly? You've got 3 minutes 38 to get both the next 2 points in.
Right. So if you want some bedtime reading and you want to fall asleep reading something, go to JCT online, right? That's your traditional contract that you would use with your builder.
JCT.
JCT. Not every builder wants a contract like that. Why? Because there's a lot of clauses in there that protects both parties. But generally, you would have a contract in place and you'll have a lump sum. Now, that lump sum will cover all of the works, including the contractor's overhead and profit, plus VAT, if it's applicable, right? And very likely it's going to be applicable if you're dealing with a contractor.
But the downside you're saying is with that, it builds in fat for like, if they're standing, you're still paying for that time.
100%. And they've got prelims in there that carries on every week, even if there's delays, right? And if there's...
Say that again slowly. Prelims. Everybody write that down. Prelims. These are preset figures that you will have to pay.
Yeah. And
yesterday, you would have paid for those 2 standing days of rain, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So, for instance, if they've got a portaloo, you're paying that every week it's there, no matter whether the weather's good, bad, or ugly, and they're on site being delayed. You're paying it. That's a typical prelim cost as an example. But with the JCT contract, you know where your figure is in terms of a budget cost. But if there's extras, they aren't allowed to apply for it. It can be extra over to the
okay, so I'm conscious of time. So what I want to say to people is we're not saying don't do this. We're saying be mindful of it. For example, if it was a lump sum for internal works, more control, that's probably okay. But anything outside where it's less control, really think carefully. And again, this is where the guidance of someone like Colin comes into play. But I want to take us to the last one with 2 minutes left. So you then said you're using on this particular project Cost Plus. You've got 2 minutes to tell people about this and how it's going to save them a lot of money in situations like this.
Right. So Cost Plus is where you work with your contractor, and generally, if they haven't done this before, then they're not necessarily used to it. But once they've done it, they're normally more open to it. So the Cost Plus essentially is called a prime cost contract. That's the JCT term, prime cost contract. You will see the actual receipts, very transparent. So the costs that come in, you will give them an overhead and profit of say 10% and agree that at the beginning on all costs. Now, what that means is that if, like for instance, on some of the projects we've had, there's inclement weather, it's delayed, you can actually work with your contractor and say, look, we're going to be delayed for this period. Let's see if we can reconvene at a later point when the weather actually dries up, and we'll come back to it.
Meaning that they're not on site, equipment's not on site, you're not paying for that.
Yeah.
Whereas you would have been doing with, for example, a lump sum JCT.
That's right. And this is where your communication is absolutely essential with your contractor. Because if you work with your contractor and you can see things that happen, we can all read the weather, right? We can all see things that are going to come in. Work with your contractor. And that's exactly what we've done. Exactly what we've done on this project and on projects that we've done, Ray.
Fantastic. So in summary, first of all, anticipate what might be a problem. Talk to the builder. Get the drawings, look at what the quantification of those materials are. If it's something that's more controllable inside, you might want to go with a lump sum. If it's outside, the Cost Plus prime contract may be the way forward. At this stage, Cole, can we maybe come back and revisit that a little bit further in more detail on one of the other? I'm just conscious I want to get off now. Is there anything else you want to add quickly to that? One final note?
Just literally, if it's something you're interested in, get advice, right? Get advice from people that can support you on this. People like myself, people that's in the industry.
Yeah, good point. All right, you did it. You nailed it inside of 7 minutes. That last one is a big saver, everybody. And that was the point I wanted to get to. Cole, we'll see you on the next video. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome.